Hey boos, in this video, I give commentary based on my opinion. Nothing is to be taken as factual. We are just here to have conversation. We don't expose and we don't sip tea on this channel. I'm giving you real talk straight, no chaser. Let's see if you can handle it.
Cause I'm a boss. I haven't done anything for you to be proud of.
Of course you have. You are marrying a man who can support you.
Hi ladies, it's Yoni and I'm back with another video. In today's video, I wanted to talk about a new feature that is now available on Instagram, and it's called Instagram Teen Accounts. It's a new feature that automatically applies safety settings to Instagram accounts for users under 18. I noticed the feature being promoted on my news feed. I took a break from social media and then I re-downloaded the app, and immediately I was met with this ad on Instagram, and it was promoting teen accounts.
Introducing Instagram Teen Accounts, automatic protections for teens, with built-in limits for who can contact them and the content they can see, helping teens safely connect to the people and things that matter most. Plus, teens under 16 require parental approval to change safety settings. New Instagram Teen Accounts, automatic protections for who can contact them and the content they can see.
So let's take a deep dive into the Instagram Teen Account features. Instagram is promising privacy for this new feature. Accounts are private by default, so teens must accept new followers. Also, Instagram is promising that with messaging, teens can only receive messages from people they follow or are already connected to. When it comes to content, sensitive content is limited, including on the Explore page and Reels pages. Instagram is also promising that with interactions, teens can only be tagged or mentioned by people they follow. Instagram is also promising that there's a time limit. Teens receive notifications to leave the app after 60 minutes per day. And lastly, Instagram is now providing a sleep mode for teen accounts. Accounts automatically enter sleep mode from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., muting notifications and sending auto replies to DMs. Teens under 16 needs parents' permission to change the settings to be less strict. Parents can also use tools to shape the experience for their teens. To set up parental control, teens can invite their parent to supervise their account. The parent will receive an invite link via text, and once they accept, the teen has 48 hours to confirm the supervision. Instagram Teen Accounts are currently available in the US, UK, Canada, and Australia, but will be introduced globally in early 2025.
Now with a GMA exclusive, this morning, Instagram is launching new protections for teens, a potential game changer for parents. It's impacting tens of millions of teens' accounts. CEO Adam Mosseri joins us with the announcement and what parents should know. Adam, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And this new experience is called Teen Accounts, where people under 18 are automatically placed into these accounts, and users under 16, they're going to need their parents' permission to change any of these settings. So tell us, how does this work?
That's exactly right. They're an automatic set of protections for teens that try and proactively address the top concerns that we've heard from parents about teens online. Things like who can contact them, what content they see, and how much time they spend on their device. And we've built things like making sure these are all private by default. There's restrictions on who can message your teen. There's content restrictions so that they see less inappropriate content, and even a reminder to leave Instagram once you hit an hour for the day, all without requiring any involvement from the parent.
Well, it definitely seems like a game changer. Seems like it puts the parents in more control or in control. But how you have some crafty kids out there. How are you preventing these kids from lying about their age to get around these features?
It's a great question. Now, we're starting by rolling this out automatically to the tens of millions of teens that have already told us they are teens. But we know that teens try to work around restrictions from time to time, so we've worked on ways to protect against that. Things like requiring a teen to verify their age if they try to change their birthday. Things like not allowing someone to create a new account with a different birthday on the same device. And we're working on ways to automatically detect those who might be lying about their age and then bring protections to those accounts as well.
Are we failing our kids with allowing them to have access to social media, but just overall cell phones? The American Psychology Association did a study not that long ago, and it talked about the dangers of social media for teens. They have symptoms like depression, anxiety, body image issues, and they struggle with lower life satisfaction. Overall, social media has caused a crisis in youth mental health. But not only that, teachers are also speaking out about how kids are addicted to their phones and at times have become a major distraction during class, and it is delaying learning for some children.
Take that in. Samantha, put your phone away. That's your warning. Samantha, give me your phone. I have to confiscate it now.
Oh, really? Here you go.
Samantha, give me your phone.
Oh, sorry, my arm twitched.
Samantha, I'm about to write you up.
For what? Here you go. Oh, my hand. I think it's broken. I've just been attacked by a teacher.
It's always who you least expect. How could you? I barely touched her. What?
Give me my phone so I can call the paramedics. Quick!
You poor thing.
Are you okay?
That looks painful.
Do y'all think phones are starting to become an issue with our students? Because I think they are. I teach kindergarten, and today a student was really upset talking about, I don't want to be here, I want to go home, I want to get on my phone is dead. The fact his phone was that important and he's 5 or 6 years old really tells a lot. And I'm starting to see a pattern, like the earlier kids get phones and iPads and all this stuff, the more likely they are to be a little bit behind in schools. And I think there are studies out there that even prove that. Not even that, kids get distracted by their phones too, to where schools are implementing no phone policies in their schools. And then on top of that, all the negative self-talk I hear from students because of what other students said to them on social media is appalling. I used to be an aide for 4th and 5th grade, and I would hear so much, I'm ugly, I'm fat, no one likes me, I'm shaped like this, da 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 da, especially from my girls. I just wish parents would take their child's education in a little more consideration than technology, or at least monitor the technology they give them. The addiction kids have to their phones and technology is bad, and it's getting worse and starting earlier. I teach kindergarten, and there have been so many times where my students have talked about, oh, I was texting my friend on my phone. There were even times I've seen my students come into school with their phone in their hand. Can you imagine that? I could have never imagined having a phone when I was in kindergarten. I didn't get my first phone till I was in 8th grade. But parents, y'all have really got to start setting limits to how much technology your kids have, because a lot of the times I've seen my students come into class overstimulated from whatever they were on, the phone, the iPad, whatever, before they got to school. And when they get to school, it turns into hyperactivity, not wanting to follow directions, and then teachers have to deal with that. I've even had a student get upset over his phone, talking about, my mom took my phone, I want my phone back, like almost having a fit over it. Look, parents, I get it. Y'all work a lot, y'all get home, you're tired, you don't want to be bothered with your kid, you give them an iPad, but that doesn't mean you cannot set limits on the amount of technology they use. Check it out, there are teachers who have gotten maced, who have gotten hit by students over their phones. Would I ever take a student's phone? No, because it's not worth the time or energy. But regardless, no teacher to have to deal with that, period. So parents, please set some limits on the technology use your kids have at home, and please monitor your kids' social media, because kids are doing too much on social media. I'm gonna make another video about that.
Just so we're all clear, what you're saying is that because kids are addicted to iPhones and iPads, which I agree with, we should not be setting limitations or taking them away, because that would be dangerous or harmful to them. First problem I have with this is that what you're talking about is harm reduction with drug addicts. Unfortunately, you have a really misguided understanding of what harm reduction is, because it's not just never taking the drug away from an addict. It's about teaching them appropriate places and times to use their drug and how to set limitations on that drug usage. Second issue I have is that There is no such thing as harm reduction with children, especially when you're talking about technology addiction in a learning environment. If this doesn't make sense to you, let me put it another way. If you found out that your kid was addicted to cocaine, would you, instead of taking the cocaine away and trying to get them into a rehab facility, give them a rule to only be able to use the cocaine on Fridays between 5 and 7 p.m.? We are talking about young people with developing brains that cannot handle that level of stimulation and that level of unrestricted access all the time, whenever they want. What's dangerous is not having any adults in their life that are willing to step in and say, you are addicted to this and we are taking it away now. There is no harm reduction when it comes to technology addiction with personal devices in the classroom during instructional time. The only thing I agree with you on is that they are extremely harmful and addictive to their brains, their capacity to pay attention and absorb knowledge and interact with their peers at school. And the only way to solve that is if every school district in every state makes a rule that on every campus in their district, they institute a no phone policy, no personal smart device technology. And until we get to that point, we're going to continue to be going round and round with each other about this.
Teachers, what are your go-to routines, procedures, and expectations around cell phones? My plan is to use one of these in the next school year, and I've never used one. But my goal is to have students come into the classroom and just put their phones in the slots. I've been thinking about this for the past few months, ever since my mind started shifting on how cell phones in the hands of young teens could be a mental health problem. So I'm wondering if I can run my initial plan with you guys so that you can give me feedback. Students walk in and they put their phones in the slots before they sit down and do their do now. There's bound to be some students who just don't put their phones in the slots. I figure if I don't see the phone in class, then the spirit of the law is satisfied. If I see a phone in class, my first step will be to ask the student if I can put their phone in the slot. If they say no, I'm not going to take the phone away. I'm not going to force it out of their hands. I'm just going to call home and ask their parents if I can hold their phone for the period. I've asked parents to hold phones before, and not one parent has said no to me. I suppose if a parent says no to me, then I'll have to figure that out as it goes. And I'm going to have cell phone chargers in the room too. So if a student wants their phone charged while it's in the slot or while it's out of their hands, then that's cool. And if you're a student watching this, I understand. This is not going to be fun for you. But I have a reason for everything I do in this class. And it's because I care, and it's because I care deeply about your mental health. It's not because I just want to take the phones out of your hands. And if I'm going to make you put your phone up, then I'm going to put my phone up as well.
You know, a lot has been said, including there have been lawsuits filed regarding social media's role in the safety and mental health of young teens. So what responsibility do you think Instagram has?
I think we have a responsibility to make sure that Instagram is a safe place for teens to explore their interests and connect with their friends. But this change is really focused not on any litigations, but on parental concerns. We've really decided that parents should be our North Star. They've been clear on what they're most concerned about, and we're trying to proactively address those concerns without requiring their involvement. But if a parent wants to get involved, we've also built some robust tools to allow them to shape the experience into what's most appropriate for their teen. Because at the end of the day, a parent always knows what's best for their child.
And I'm sure there are a lot of parents interested in this. And so for those parents who are at home right now watching our program, how can they check these settings on their phone and make these changes?
So we're going to start rolling this out proactively this week, and it will be out to the entire country within 60 days. Your teen will actually see when they open up Instagram a message explaining exactly what's going on. And if they want to change any of the settings to a less restrictive setting and they're under 16, they're going to need your permission to do so. And they can proactively outreach to you via the app. Or you can actually go to your profile settings and then to supervision tools and proactively turn on parental control if you so choose.
Do you think the new feature for Instagram for teens is a step in the right direction? One thing that I've learned about capitalism globally is that it doesn't care about the people, it cares about the money. So is this simply a band-aid to mask a crisis? Is this simply a band-aid to shut up and silence parents who are truly concerned about teens and mental health? Is this simply a band-aid to shut up teachers who are struggling during class, especially when it comes to giving students instructions? Do you think that this is simply a band-aid to a bigger issue, a bigger crisis that is currently taking over globally? But one thing that I do know, that when it comes to allowing teens on social media, the younger the better, because ads are going to be promoted and companies will be making money.
Do you use Instagram?
No, I have an account, but I don't use it.
Okay. Now, do you use TikTok?
Yes.
How often?
Do you want the truth?
Yeah.
About more than 8 hours a day, probably.
8 hours a day?
Yeah.
And what do you use it for?
I usually just scroll on TikTok and watch videos.
When you're on TikTok, do you feel smarter?
Not smarter, kind of just like more free. I feel like when I'm on TikTok, I can like relate to things better, you know? Sometimes when you're on social media, I wouldn't say it's like an addiction, but it'll be something that like brings you joy. But then when you don't find anything on it, you'll still want to look for things that'll make you happy.
I feel like at one point you were addicted to TikTok.
Yeah,
Do you think you were?
definitely. There's no doubt.
So let me ask you this. Do you like the color of your skin? Do you like the way you look?
Yes,
Do you get positive reinforcement in this house?
definitely.
What are some of the things that your mom and I say to you?
You remind me that my skin is beautiful, that when I'm going out for dinner or something and I dress up, that I look beautiful.
Are there times when you're on social media and maybe you don't like the way you look, or you question how beautiful you are?
I find someone that's like really pretty. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so pretty. And then I'll look at myself and I'll be like, oh, I wish I looked like them or something.
But then don't you turn around and think to yourself, I'm also pretty?
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I'm pretty anyway. It doesn't matter.
What would you say to kids who are on social media and because they don't measure up to somebody else's standards, their lifestyle, or the way they look, they feel sad?
So recently, on the first day of school, I tried to dress my best because I wanted to make a good impression.
You're in a new school.
Yeah. But then I realized like most of the other kids, they don't care. And I have lots of respect for people who just don't care, because as long as they don't care, they seem happy. Because at the end of the day, you might as well live your life as happy as you can be and just enjoy every second of it without trying to compare yourself or anything.
You didn't wince when she said she was on TikTok for 8 hours. Do you all have house rules?
We do.
I was surprised that you just said, okay.
If you have straight A's and you're doing your chores and you're a good student, then you can be on TikTok, you can be on any app you want, and also play video games. But as soon as you do something wrong, you lose those privileges. But there was a moment there where I realized how much she hears us give her positive reinforcement.
Yes.
But when she answered the question and she said, sometimes I see another girl who's pretty and I don't feel as pretty, my heart started to drop.
Right.
And I almost got choked up. I had to collect myself, because in that moment I realized no matter how much
reinforcement she gets, yes,
I'm fighting against an unseen enemy, which are people on the other side of the screen that are putting videos out there, and she's reading these comments that people are posting. Jamie, I want to start with you. As a parent, what can we do? Because we are also filled with anxiety.
So you did a lot of great things. It sounds like you give your daughter lots of positive reinforcement, lots of specific labeled praise. You value other things besides how she appears, so she has to do well in school. So that's what parents can really do. We want to encourage our kids to get in real life kind of social experiences with all the nonverbals that you get from like a real life conversation. Engage in hobbies, move your bodies, get good sleep, because a lot of kids who have this kind of quote unquote addiction, they're watching their apps all night.
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting good sleep, and that really affects us, and it can be linked to increased rates of depression.
As good as it is, social media does seem to be a double-edged sword to me. How do we navigate that dance, Jamie?
So I don't think we want to say that you can't be on social media at all, right? Because that would be socially really disadvantageous to your kids, but we want to have limits.
And unrealistic.
Right. And we want to have limits. Sometimes we'll say about 2 hours, as long as you're doing things like your homework and you're doing things in real life, you're engaged in other activities, and you want to model good behavior as parents. So put your phones down during meals, have a place where you can put your phone so that everyone knows, like right now, it's screen-free time. And you can just put the phone face down, because adolescents hate it when they think maybe a parent or someone could see something pop up.
So you say about 2 hours of screen time. I'm hearing about 8 hours in that interview, Nate.
I had no idea. It was eye-opening for me. And I realized the moments where she is on the phone. She hurry up and gets her homework done. We check her grades, and she realizes, I have a ton of time on my hands.
Yeah.
And living with 2 older brothers that are teenagers, she's like, I'd rather hang out with my girls on social media, because it's a experience where it's a collective, about 5 kids doing the same thing on a social media app.
Right, which was so helpful during the pandemic, too, so kids could stay connected. It's just the flip side is the social comparison.
By the age of 15, 86% of kids have a smartphone, according to Common Sense Media. And the U.S. Surgeon General says 95% of teens, 13 to 17, are using social media. There are a lot of positives, right? Connecting with friends, for example, but there are also some very real risks. 21-year-old Sophie Shev clearly remembers the moment she joined social media. It was the day of her 10th birthday party.
I was someone that grew up pretty heavily bullied and someone that struggled to fit in socially. So when my peers told me that there was this app that they were downloading to stay connected to each other, to expand their social life, I thought that if I downloaded it, it would help me fit in too.
She downloaded Instagram and followed a few other students. But Sophie says when she turned to the Explore page, she saw content from accounts she didn't follow. And when she started clicking on posts about models and weight loss, she says it took a turn.
It went from swap out a candy bar for a carrot to this is how to hide your food, how to avoid eating completely.
Sophie says the content helped lead to her eating disorder. She was hospitalized 13 times, starting at the age of 15, when her doctor delivered this dire warning.
He looked me in the eyes and said, the insurance called and asked for your prognosis. And I had to tell them that you are going to die in the next couple of weeks. Your heart, liver, kidneys, they're all failing.
Sophie made major changes in her life, and she's in a healthier place now, going to therapy and taking a 2-year break from social media. And her story is not unique. When asked about the impact of social media on their body image, 46% of teens 13 to 17 said that social media makes them feel worse. Back in May, the U.S. Surgeon General issued a warning, calling the youth mental health crisis the defining public health issue of our time.
We see rates of depression and anxiety and suicide and loneliness going up among young people. And I'm concerned that social media is an important driver of that.
The Surgeon General points to 2019 research finding teens who spend more than 3 hours a day on social media face double the risk for mental health issues like depression and anxiety. And a lot of American teens are spending more time than that. A poll this month found just over half of teens say they're spending at least 4 hours a day on social media apps.
Favorite app? I'd probably say like TikTok.
TikTok.
Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram.
Ah, we have a divide. I sat down with 15-year-old Elizabeth Kreitzberg, 13-year-old Josiah McLean Long, 16-year-old Megan Finishell, and 17-year-old Eric Woodbury at their school outside New York City to learn about their own social media use.
Josiah, what does it look like when you start looking at TikTok?
When I'm looking at TikTok, it's just so many funny videos and I just keep scrolling.
I think when I'm scrolling, I'm just forgetting and just avoiding everything else in my life.
I watch TikTok to fall asleep.
These teens say they don't use filters to change their appearance when they post on social media, but they certainly see a lot of that.
What about your friends? Do your friends use filters?
I have one friend. She uses a filter on every single photo, every single video. I don't know what she looks like for real anymore. I haven't seen her in a long time.
How much of your mental health do you think is tied to using the phone or screens?
Do you see a connection there or not?
Not so much now, but definitely like when I was younger, like 2 years ago, I was more impressionable to like what I'd see, and I was definitely more down on myself then.
What were you seeing?
People like with filters, or like people with the unimaginable bodies that are all fake.
Perfect.
All fake and perfect, and it's like, why can't that be me, you know?
Most of their parents follow them on social media.
My mom does send me a lot of TikToks. My dad, like Insta Reels and stuff. Like, it's mostly like funny stuff.
They also tell me they've taken steps to have a healthier relationship with their phones. Megan says last school year she would sneak her phone into her room at night. This year her parents make her literally hand it over at 9:30.
My work wasn't getting done. I wasn't getting good sleep because I was scrolling. Because it seems like scrolling at night is the only free time we have. That's what it feels like anyway. But I guess now that they take my phone, I'm getting much better sleep.
Now, y'all know I don't have any kids, but I am a user of social media, and I too have seen changes within my mental health when it comes to social media, which is why I try not to be as active on social media. And I'm also very selective about the type of content that I am consuming on social media, because it can contribute to my mental health. And mindless scrolling causes overstimulation and burnout. So one thing that I noticed is that typically if I'm procrastinating, it's because I'm overstimulated, and then I am quick to burn out, and then that causes me to have anxiety, and then it also causes mental health issues and things like that. So this is a cycle that I found myself in while being a social media user, and this is something that I'm struggling with as an adult. And so I had to start limiting my time and my access to social media, even though this is a job for me. Like, this is something that I do as a job, and I still have to limit myself when it comes to how much I'm allowing access and just overall screen time. It affects me negatively, and it also affects me when it comes to getting things done, because again, when you are overstimulated, you don't get to what you need to get to when it comes to things that you need to get done. I can see how this is impacting children, especially in school, and I can see how it's a distraction, especially when it comes to instructions being told to students. Do you think this is the answer, creating teen accounts? We all know that teens were getting around that age restriction. So where do parents stand with these changes? How do you feel with screen time, teens, and mental health? Comment down below. I would love to hear from you. And also, if you have been a user of social media since you were a teen, where are you at now when it comes to your mental health? How much screen time do you allow yourself to have on a daily or weekly basis? And if there are any teachers that are listening, can you also comment your experience down below with students in class? If you're new here, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you will be notified for when I upload. Also, please give the video a thumbs up, and I hope to see you in my next one.